And I could remember how sad I was, like more empty than anything, because I knew what a life with God felt like, and it felt full. But living this life, I made all the rules, I made all the choices for my life and my child in that space, and I felt the most bound I've ever felt when I had all this choice. It was just this, I just felt empty and just sad. I'm like, is this really what I'm created to be and to do? Every day, just wake up. Motherhood really feels like this. So in 2001, we went back into church, and it's not so much the church part, but what at that time in 2001, what the message was being preached, the revelation of, of whatever that pastor was preaching about, it just hit home. And I was like, yeah, that is what I know. That is the God I know. That is the life I know. And so we slowly started to build this relationship with the Lord again, and with God again. And again, it was like a barren place that was called my life has now started to spring up with life, because of a decision I made to go back in it. Today I'm unpacking my blog that I wrote on August the 4th, and it will be in 3 parts because it's really long. Those who brave to read it. And I'm like, Lulu, is your post ever never long? But so I try to be kind to you, and I've broken these my very long posts that I wrote on August the 4th, a day before we flew out. Actually, maybe it was the day before we flew out, and wrote about living a life on loop, and how that got started was the night before. Me and Jeremy went to my girlfriend's work do, and it was a costume party one, and we had to dress up, and we were like one DMC. Me and Jeremy went as one DMC. We were missing a member, but that's okay because there's only 2 that exist, and it's like, so that's when we went to that. We had such a good time, and then when in the morning I woke up, had my time with God, and this was the joy drops that He was just dropping through that time with the Lord. And if this is your first time ever watching a joy vlog, like my friends at work has, really funny. Have a look at some others, and you'll see the flow of what I talk about, pretty much what God drops down. So how this post started, as we were hanging out with our friends, my work friends, we started to talk about, because it was a drinking party, and we were talking about drinking, we were talking about, the things, what people do, smoking drugs or whatever, la la la. And so that's when I ended up, our conversation just freely went into my testimony. And I started to share, and I think some of them were at shock because they're like, Lulu, you drink? Like you drank? Or more like, you were a stoner? I was a bad stoner. So just talking about that freely, and I realized how real that time was, in my 20s, where it was just sad. And that's what I was saying to the girls. I'm like, oh man, my life was sad. Like that's all it was, just waiting for tequila and a tinny, which is a $20 grass you buy. I'm sure you guys all know this. R18. I do not promote it at all. But so this Sunday morning, I was just reflecting on that with the Lord, and how, and just I remember in my 20s. I also mentioned in my vlog how I was brought up in God. So my parents were Methodist. Actually, my dad was Presbyterian and my mom was Methodist, and we grew up in church. So we knew about God. And then my mum radically gave her heart to the Lord over the radio. And I was 10 at the time. My dad passed away the year before that, because Dad was quite a sick man, very young. And and so we went from a full-on traditional Samoan church that, that's what you did, to a full-on Pentecostal charismatic church, which was full gospel in New Zealand. And that was the first time I actually saw people so happy to be at church. One, two, they were clapping in church. I was like, what is that? And they had tambourines too. It was just like, wow. And there was a drum kit in church. I'm like, are we at church or are we at a concert? And there were so many different nationalities in this church. I think our pastor was Welsh. And it was just this new family that we grew up in. And so my Christian walk when I was 10 all the way to when I think 17, it was just all Jesus. It was just God. I loved it. I loved being a Christian. I loved church. I loved everything to do with church. And then at the age of 17, it just died. Like we had nowhere else to go because our church, it ended, and we're like, what do we do? Like, that's our family, and we didn't know what to do. And so naturally we just got into the booze, and that was my experience of trying drugs out. And then but then after that moment, I got bored. I got so bored with living that life. It was just, I can't explain it because I feel like I've gone through it twice. Like just after when I was 17 and I was experiencing all these new things, and then in 2001, I went back into church again. So that whole period from 17, so I don't know, say probably 5 years of living a life of just repeat. So in this time, I got pregnant outside of marriage, and and then we lived together with another single mom and her kids, and all we did was, was just get Breezy ready, would let her watch her programs. I'll be smoking, once at the breastfeed. I was even breastfeeding at the same time. And we would clean up the house, and then, go down to the shops, get our smokes. And then by Saturday, we were hanging out for session and drink up. And then it started again. And I could remember how sad I was, like more empty than anything, because I knew what a life with God felt like, and it felt full. But living this life, I made all the rules, I made all the choices for my life and my child in that space, and I felt the most bound I've ever felt when I had all this choice. It was just this, I just felt empty and just sad. I'm like, is this really what I'm created to be and to do? Every day, just wake up. Motherhood really feels like this. And it just got sad, and we would just wait for the next thing. And I just remember feeling that. And so I'm actually very thankful for my brother-in-law, Andrew, who came, and he knew we were drug pots. We were living in their home. We totally trashed their house. So sorry that we did that, but we did. We trashed, because when you just live in a place of not caring, you actually don't care. You don't see the value in your home. You don't see the value in what you do. Just loop. Just when the record player goes to the end and it's like tick, 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 tick. It was like that. That's how I felt my life was in my 20s. And so when we ended up, we were so bad. Oh, maybe I shouldn't share that. we were so bad. We would go in to church so stoned and take money off the collection plate so we could buy another 20. Yes, that has happened. But yeah, but that's like you just lost everything. Like, there wasn't even no honor or anything. You just like stuff that, been there, done that. Yeah. So in 2001, we went back into church, and and well, it's not so much the church part, but what at that time in 2001, what the message was being preached, the revelation of, of whatever that pastor was preaching about, it just hit home. And I was like, yeah, that is what I know. That is the God I know. That is the life I know. And so, yeah, so we slowly started to build this relationship with the Lord again and with God again. And again, it was like a barren place that was called my life has now started to spring up with life because of a decision I made to like go back in it, and I knew that the life I lived, which was sad, that Breezy was raised up in for 2 years, because I fell pregnant when I was 20. For 2 years was a life that I wasn't ever gonna put her in that again, and it was just so I got to share that with my workmates, and then I got to really appreciate where my life is right now, and from then I've never turned back. Like when I was 22, I've never turned back. I've been on this pursuit for God, and it isn't a life of loop in this. That's what I'm writing in my blog, is that it's not that anymore. And it feels like strength to strength, from glory to glory. It's always a brand new day, and the day is brand new. So that's what I started to share right at the beginning, and to appreciate part of this life of living glory to glory. It's I've started to see, and I started to look at my life and look at what my life consists of at the moment. So I work, I go to work. I have a family here. I live with with my husband, my daughter, my sisters, and I have my friends, and my church, and it's just God's just really. I feel like that day was really putting me in a place of remembrance of like, wow, look how far we've come together. And I'm like, wow, like how do people live without you? Like, I don't know how they do it. And so help us, your sons and daughters, to be in places where people don't know you, so we can continue to shine and just love on people. And I feel like I get the opportunity to do that. Hence why I blogged about my friends. So that was what the Lord was showing me, was to actually really appreciate our journey together, me and Dad, and then He started to highlight my friends. So and so that's when I cut up that the first part of living a life on loop. I start to talk about my friends at work, and that I talk about how your workplaces are are places where you can actually overflow in God's love for your friends. Yeah.